Okay, so I broke the last video because I was able to finish question 28, but that was on the last one and then before it got erased. So now we're at question 29. We are factoring x squared minus 5x minus 36. So what that means is you want to change it into two factors that multiply back to this. So this will be our final answer. This is what we're trying to lead to. And I like to organize my work. This is just an organizer where you put negative 36 at the top and negative 5 on the bottom. And then all you're doing is thinking of two numbers that multiply to 36. But they also have to, so they have to multiply to the top and either add or subtract to the bottom. So you would have to think of multiples of 36. You can go through a list in your head like 1 times 36, 2 times 18, 3 times, what is it? 3 times 12, that makes sense. 4 times 9, 5 doesn't work, and 6 times 6. But which one has a difference of 5? It would just be the 4 times 9. So those are the two numbers that we're looking for, 4 times 9. We just have to fix it now because right now 4 times 9 makes positive 36. So if you want a negative, one of them has to be negative. And it does matter which one it is. It also has to add to a negative 5. So is it 4 minus 9 or is it 9 minus 4? And it should be 4 minus 9. And those are our values. So it would be x plus 4 because it was positive and x minus 9. And that would be your final answer of our two factors. You can double check if you did it right or wrong by multiplying them back out. So this is checking your work. If you want to check your work, another thing you can do to check your work is if you type this into the graphing calculator and the original, they should both match on the graphs. So that's another way to check. But if you multiply x times x, that's x squared. X times negative 9, that's negative 9x. 4 times x is positive 4x, and 4 times a negative 9 is a negative 36. When you add the two terms in the middle, because those are the only two that can add, negative 9 plus 4, that's a negative 5. So it does bring us back to the original. So we did it right. This is our final answer in factors. Okay, for number 30, again, negative 20 at the top and 8 at the bottom. What two numbers multiply to 20 but can also add or subtract to 8? So you're trying to multiply to the top, find two numbers that multiply, and either add or subtract to the bottom. So that would be 10 and 2. 10 times 2 makes 20, and 10 minus 2 makes 8. So now it is fixed. 10 times, so it would be x plus 10 and x minus 2. The order doesn't matter. If you write x minus 2 and x plus 10, that's still right. But so you can write it like this also. But the important part is it is negative 2 and it's a positive 10. And again, you can check your work by multiplying. X times x is x squared. X times 10 is a 10x. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. And negative 2 times 10 is a negative 20. When you add the 2 in the middle, it turns into positive 8. So it does go back to the original. So this would be my answer in factored form. That's factor. Oops. Okay, let's go on to the next one. So again, we are factoring again. So for factors, organize my work. Negative 7 and 6. What two numbers multiply to 7? 7 is a prime number. So there is only one that multiplies. There's only one number that multiplies to 7 because it's a prime number. So that would be 1 and 7. Whoa. Okay, little mistake here. 1 and 7. How can I get a 6? That's with the negative 1. So it's x minus 1 and x plus 7. And that's done. You could double check your work. So now what we're doing for 32 is says find all the zeros. Oh shoot. So I think that's what 31 was asking. And I did not read it correctly. Okay, 30 said to factor, but 31 says to find all the zeros. So this one is not done. So for zeros, they're asking what are the zeros. You do have to factor it. And then now, or you can use your graphing calculator to find the zeros, obviously. But now that you know the factors, you make them each equal to 0, each of them. X minus 1 equals 0, and x plus 7 equals 0. And you solve for x. So you add 1, so the answer is 1. That's one of the zeros. You subtract 7, and the answer is negative 7. It's always going to end up being the opposite of what these were. So those are our zeros. We have 2 zeros, and we should know that we have 2 zeros because it's an x squared. So if it's x squared, you have 2. For number 32, they're asking you to find the zeros. So if you see, this is already in factored form. So all we have to do is make each of them equal to 0. So 2x plus 1 equals 0, and x minus 4 equals 0. And we solve for x. Take away 1, and then divide by 2. So the answer is -1/2 for one of them. And for the other one, you add 4, and you're done. So the answer is +4 for the one for that one. For 33, it says there's a person standing on the edge of a building. So basically there is a building, and there's a person standing right there, and the building is 24 feet high, and they're going to throw a ball up, and then it's going to land and hit the ground. So they're just asking you, what is the maximum height? So how tall did the ball go? And then when does it touch the ground? What time? So you definitely want to use your graphing calculator for this one. You type it into y equals on your graphing calculator, and you look at the graph and kind of look at the details of it. So I am going to go to Desmos though on my side, -16x squared. So you do want to change it to x, plus 92x, especially on a graphing calculator, it only works with the x, and then plus 24. You do want to reset your window. So for this one, so if you're using the graphing calculator, you do want to reset your window. You obviously need it to go. So this is what we're looking for. We're looking for something like this. So I've reset my window with Desmos, but you would have to reset it on your own. So if you kind of look at it, again, the building is 24 feet high, and then the ball is going up, 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 up. Its maximum is at 156.25, and I think they were saying feet. So its maximum is at 100. It is feet. Okay. So what was it again? 156.25 feet. That is the maximum height. And then how many seconds does it take for the ball to hit the ground? So now we want to look at, so here the time is on the bottom, 1 second, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It is 6. It took 6 seconds. 6 seconds for it to hit the ground. So if you kind of look at the arch, it's when the arch hits the x-axis, because right now the ball is at the beginning, and then it goes up into the air, then it goes to the top, and then when does it hit the ground? At 6 seconds. So that would be how you answer that one. Okay, for 34 and 35, you can graph them, so then you can see what's going on. So that's a recommendation I would do. And if not, really, they tell you what's going on with these two numbers. So it says, if you start with x squared, so if we start with the graph of x squared, this is where we're starting. And then we change it to parentheses x plus 5 squared. So then we change it to x plus 5 squared, and then plus 10. Well, what happened? If you notice, if I take away the plus 10, all it did is start on the red, and then it went to the blue. So that means it went left 5. And what happens when you add plus 10? Well, it goes up 10. So truly what's going on here is because you only added 2 extra values to the function, the one inside parentheses is always going to do the opposite. It's going to go left or right, but it's going to do the opposite. Because it's going plus 5, it makes you think it's going to go to the right 5, but it doesn't. It moves left 5 units. And then the value in the back, that one does go up and down according to if it's positive or negative. So because it's plus 10, it's going to go up 10. And that is what happened. From the original to the new graph, it transformed, it changed by going left 5 and up 10. So in this one, if you notice, if we start with x squared, and now we have negative x squared minus 4, well, what are the new additions? Well, you have a negative in the front, and you have a minus 4 in the back. This minus 4 is going to make it go down 4, but because this negative is not inside the parentheses, it's not the one that moves it left or right. This is the one that actually flips it upside down. So it's going to reflect, it's going to flip over the x-axis. So it's going to be upside down. And again, you can type it into the calculator to double check. So we're starting again with x squared, and then it goes to negative x squared. See how it flipped upside down? And then the minus 4 makes it go down 4. So that was the two shifts that happened. It changed it by flipping it upside down and then going down 4. Okay, for 36, again, what additions do we have? We have a negative and we have a plus 8. This negative, again, is going to flip it over the x-axis. It's going to flip it upside down. And then this x plus 8 is going to make it go left or right. But again, because it's in that parentheses, it does the opposite. So instead of going right 8, it goes left 8 units. So it's going to go left 8. And that's what you should notice is the difference. But you can graph it. It's going to be negative, parentheses, x plus 8 and squared. So it did go to the left 8, and then it flipped upside down. Or flipped upside down and then went left 8. And then for 37, now there are 3 shifts that happen, and that's because you have a negative 6, and you have a plus 2. The negative will flip it upside down, flip over the x-axis. The x minus 6 is going to make it go left and right, but because it's in parentheses, it's going to do the opposite. So instead of making you think it goes left, it actually goes right. So it's going to go right 6 units. And then for the plus 2, it will go up 2 units. We don't need that. So it does a shift up. So again, type it into your graphing calculator, and then you can see how it flips upside down, goes to the right, and then it goes up 2. For the last couple questions, it's more about zeros and also like multiplicity and the correct graph. So anything that is even, like x squared, x4, x6, it's all gonna be, both of the ends of the arrows will be facing up or facing upside down. But when it's odd, 3, 5, 7, one of them will be on one side, like facing down, and one of them will be facing up. So for this one, we should have an odd, right? Because one of the arrows is on the bottom, and then the other one is at the top. So it's an odd. And we look at the zeros. So again, here, one of the zeros is negative 8. Another 0 is negative 2, where it crosses the x-axis. That's what I'm referring to. And this one is 2. When we put it back into parentheses, though, it should be the opposite. It should be x plus 8, x plus 2, and x minus 2. And we're trying to match that. So that would be C. The order doesn't really matter. So that one just says x minus 2, x plus 2. You can also double check your answer, plug it into your graphing calculator, and see that it kind of matches the graph. It should kind of give a decent depiction of what it is. They might look a little different because of their windows, but see how it is at negative 8, negative 2, and positive 2. And then on the left side, the arrow's on the bottom, and on the right side, it's going up. So that's the important part. If you did add a negative to the front, it would actually change it where it starts from the top and then it ends up at the bottom. So we want it to be in this format so that it follows the graph. Okay, my things are not saving. For number 39, so you'll just have to like rewind to double check. We have x equals 5, and this one x equals 7. So again, when it goes into parentheses, it's actually the opposite, x minus 5 and x minus 7. But see how at 7, it didn't go underneath? That means there are 2 of them there. So there's actually a double. When it crosses from the bottom to the top, like when it crosses the x-axis, there's only 1. But because it bounced, then it means there's a double there. So it just like hit the ground and went back up. So it should match like it should be D. So let's double check. X minus 5, x minus 7, x minus 5, x minus 7 squared. Add the square to it. And again, it might look a little different, just a little bit because of our window, but it's at 5 and it's at 7, and it does match the overall shape of it, where it starts at the bottom, then goes up and bounces. So you can obviously do these by just typing them into your calculator and also matching the graph. And we have 2 more to do, and then we're all done. So draw a sketch that could represent the following. Okay, so again, because we want to be graphing them at the opposite. So you want to graph it at -2, at +3, and at -8. Because when you make them each equal to 0, they will revert back to the opposite. So at -2, we should have one here, at +3, and at +8. Now, the last thing you want to do is you want to know if it, like, the overall shape of it. You can type it into your graphing calculator to get the overall shape and then just, you know, copy it from there. But because this one has an exponent of 2, that means it bounces. And then 3, that's an odd one, so this one's gonna bounce. This one will cross because it has an odd, and this one will also cross because if you don't see an exponent, then it's a 1. So that's an odd one, so it's gonna cross. The last thing you want to do is you want to count up your exponents. So you have 2, 3, that's 5, and another one is 6. So in total, this is an x to the 6 graph. And if you paid attention to the one I described, I think everything got erased in 38. But when it is even, so every time we have x squared, x4, x6, any of those, they both arrows end up at the top. So that means for this one, and because it's positive, it's at the top. If it had a negative at the front, then it'd be upside down. So it means that it starts at the top and it's going to end up at the top. So from here, we're going to come down to -2 and it's going to bounce. And then it's going to have to turn around, go through 3, and then it's going to go through 8 and end up at the top. And it should look something like that. Now, we might not get perfectly correct how deep the curves are because it might be a little bit different, right? It says to draw a possible sketch. I mean, it could also be in this way where it comes down and maybe it shoots way up high, maybe it shoots way down low, and then it comes back up, right? Something like that. So that's not the important part. The important part is that we understood that at 2 it bounces. I don't think I can erase it, can I? At 2 it bounces, at 3 it crosses, at 8 it crosses, and both of the ends end up at the top. So again, you can type it into your graphing calculator, like literally type it into y equals with parentheses and everything. X, what was it, -2? X plus 2 squared. X minus 3, I think, cubed. And x minus 8. See how it looks very funny, but I'll try to fix it a little bit. Did I do this? X minus 3 and then x plus 8. Oh, that one's wrong. It's plus 8. Right? X plus 2. Am I typing this right? X minus 3. And x plus 8. Okay, let's come back. Okay, did I graph these at the wrong one? Oh my gosh, I did mess it up. So if you notice at the beginning, I did say -8, right? It should be at the opposite. So this should be at -8, and I just erased it. This one should be at +3, and this one's at -2. So now my graph is definitely off. And it's good to use your graphing calculator to double check. So I messed that up. So that was not... Okay, we want to be at -8. So we should be here. We want to be at -2 here and at +3. The the rest of it is still true. They should both end up. So at 8, it crosses. It's going to go through it. And then it's going to -2. It's going to bounce. But now, because it's coming from the bottom, it bounces. And then it will turn around and go through 3. So it should look something like that. This should be a more accurate to what the graph is like. So let's double check. And again, I'm just fixing the window. And it might look a little funky, but the important part is, see how it starts at the top and then it crosses through -8. Then it turns around at some point. When it gets to 2, it bounces. It doesn't cross the x-axis. Then it'll turn back around and then it crosses to 3 and then it ends up being at the top. So it's not that we are making it exactly the same, but it does have the overall. Did it just shift back to my last graph? It did. Oh my gosh. So this video is all over the place because it shifted back to what I had before. Okay, we want to be at -8, at -2, and at +3. We start at the top, we cross, then at some point we turn around, we bounce, and then we can keep going up again in that direction. And that's how it should look once again. And see how it kind of follows the overall shape. It starts at the top, then it comes, then it turns around, and then it goes through 3. Okay, last one. So for this one, let's get all our zeros first. This one does count. It is at 0. This is going to be at +4, at -5, and at +3. Okay, because this has an exponent of 1, that's odd. It is going to cross the x-axis. This one is odd. It is going to cross it. This one is even. It is going to bounce. And this one has an invisible 1, so that's going to cross. Now we want to add them all up. We have an x, so that's 1. And then another 3, so that's 4, 5, 6, 7. 1 plus 3 is 4, 5, 6, 7. So in total we have x7. Because it is odd, that means 1 ends up at the bottom, and at the end we should end up at the top. So our graph is not going to look like 40. It should look more like what we had, like these two right here, 38 and 39, where one arrow is on the bottom, the ends, the end behavior, one arrow is on the bottom and the other arrow is at the top right. Okay, so let's come back and let's graph all our zeros. We have 0, 4, 5, and 3. And I made another mistake here. It should be -5. Okay, 0, +4, -5, and 3. Okay, so -5, 0. Those are our zeros. 4 and 3. We start from the bottom and we should end up at the top because it's positive. There's not a big negative. That would then create the opposite. And at -5, it says that it's going to bounce. So it means it's coming from the bottom and then it bounces. Okay, and then we don't know how far it turns. Maybe it goes really deep down, or maybe it turns a little bit and comes back up. That part, don't worry about that part as long as you're getting the overall shape. So then it comes back down. And then it's going to turn and get to 0. When it goes to 0, it does cross. So it crosses it. And then it's going to turn around at some point. And then it's going to cross. And then it's going to turn around at some point. And then it's going to cross. And it ends up being up here. So that should be the overall shape. Even though it kind of looks funny, I might draw it once more. Let's see the best that I can do. But use your graphing calculator to get an idea of what it looks like. A lot of the times I just make my turns really slow or really small. They're not that big of a deal. X minus 4 with an exponent of 3. X plus 5 squared, and x minus 3. The overall shape should be similar to what we had, where it starts from the bottom, then it bounces, then it crosses at 0, then it comes back down. Here it's kind of hard to tell. It was kind of hard to tell. Let me see. But it does, so you can see how it does cross under the 3, right? It goes very little under, then it comes back up and it crosses, and then it goes up forever. So that's the overall shape. It looks very funny, but that's the main idea. So hopefully this review was helpful, and you just want to practice a couple other things like solving logs, and unit 8 as well, matrices. Hope this helped.